Hello friends, AmyR here with Prairie Paper and Ink, doing a slightly different way of unboxing a card kit. This time, instead of talking during the unboxing, I'm doing the voiceover later. Things were a little noisy and chaotic, and I didn't want to wait, so I was like, you know, I'll just film it, make my cards, and then I'll do the voiceover later. So this is Simon Says Stamps January 2022 card kit. The card kits are sent to me. I am on the Simon Says Stamp design team, and I will have links to the kit, to the subscription, everything separately, etc., like always, in the description box below the video. So this kit has this fabulous Snow Love stamp set, a big 6x8 stamp set. I've said this a million times. You can never have too many snowflake stamps or wafer dies. They're all unique, just like in real life. So yeah, I'm a fan. There is a coordinating wafer die set for that stamp set. It's not part of the kit. I will link to it. And then there is a Simon Says Stamp Pawsitively Saturated Ink Pad, a medium watercolor brush, because with the positively saturated inks, you can, and I've shown this in videos, you can smush them like onto a non-porous surface and pick it up with a water brush or a paintbrush, and you can paint with them because they are water reactive. And then there is the AIDAN Snowflake wafer die. This is another it's just pretty. Like I said, I will never be like, oh, you know, there's a limit to how many snowflake stamps and dies you can have, because I never tire them. So you get that. There's a little mini envelope. These are great for doing like little mini cards to include like with a gift card, etc. And then you get a full pack of Simon's color blend cardstock. I'm not gonna lie, I hoard this stuff. Like, it came out, I forget which release was it. I think it was the Diecember release. They released these. I've ordered a couple extra packs, and then this pack thankfully came in the kit too, because I was like, yay, maybe if I have enough I can stop hoarding them. They're gorgeous. They have a glossy finish to them, which I kind of think will probably mean that they could be foiled really nicely with like glimmer hot foil. But yeah, they're really pretty. So you get those. There's an A2 envelope. You also get 3 sheets of these. These are Tim Holtz Idea-ology winter deco sheets. These are really interesting. He talked about these in one of his videos, goodness, a month or two ago. I think this is the last year for them. I don't think they're going to release them again after this, but they're unbelievably thin. They're like a printed vinyl type of a product, and the best way to use them is I showed here, you peel it off and it's adhesive. And I would stick it to a piece of cardstock if you want to die cut it or anything like that. Just peel off the backing, stick it to some cardstock to give it a little bit more sturdiness. But yeah, really, really pretty stuff. And again, I'm probably going to hoard it, but you know. And then you also get a sheet of Simon's 6x6 glitter paper. Another thing that favorite of mine, because it's fabulous. It's a great way to work with glitter without having glitter everywhere, and it die cuts beautifully, all the things. A little thing of mini glossy accents. Love. Can never have too much of that. And then you get a little bit of embellishments, again, from Tim Holtz Idea-ology line. So there's one of them is the Christmas shape seals. So it looks like a, wax seal, but it's made out of metal. Love. And again, I'm going to hoard them. I'm just being honest. I like these little, I don't know, just for me, it's like I have these little like treasures, that have come in so many of Simon's card kits, and I love them. So you get one of those, and you also get some snowflake adornments. Those are really pretty, like not ridiculously flashy, but just pretty. So you get some of those. Oh, and a mesh bag that fits the whole kit contents, which I'll show in a minute. You get a sheet of matte silver cardstock, another favorite, and some, I think it's Nina Classic Crafts cardstock. Is that what it is? This is why I like doing this, like in talking in real time, because now I have to go back through my list. Nina 110 pound solar white. So you get that, and then I don't have it in my kit, but you also get a pack or a sheet of Scrapbook adhesives, foam snowflakes. I'll link to those. They didn't have many of them when they shipped out the kits to the design team members, so I didn't get a sheet of that to show, but I'll link to them. They're kind of cute, and you can like adhere glitter and different things. So you'll get a sheet of that in your kit, as well as the sucker, which mine was blue raspberry, which is my favorite, which always makes me happy. But yeah, kit fits in the mesh bag. That's usually how I store mine, at least for a while. And then I would like put everything with everything else. But it's a nice way to keep things, you know, organized and where they are. So I, of course, gravitated towards the stamp set and the ink. I have all of the positively saturated inks. And this one, is it AEGEAN? AEGEAN? Is that how you pronounce it? I was going to look that up before I did the voiceover and then I forgot. Well, if I mispronounced it, I'll get corrected in the comments. No biggie. Anyway, beautiful color. And for whatever reason, I haven't reached for it very often. So I was looking at that and I was like, oh, and then I started thinking like jewel tones because I love jewel tones. So I took some A2 card panels and I have my Misty. And I lined up a couple of the snowflakes, like the biggest snowflake stamp and a couple more on the A2 card front panel. And I have a sticky grid mat in my Misty, and I'm going to use that to position everything. So I'm lining everything up like, I was going by like 2 squares up and 2 squares in, just to keep everything consistent because I'm going to do multiples because why not? And I use my anti-static powder on the cardstock before putting it on the sticky grid because I don't want to get anti-static powder all over the sticky grid because no fun there. So right now everything is going to look very boring because I am stamping these snowflakes with clear embossing ink onto white cardstock and then coating them with white embossing powder. So it's white on white. Cameras aren't going to show any of this, but this was step 1. And I did this 4 times because I thought, why not do multiples? You could do this 50 times. This is exactly how I do any sort of like mass production, is you do everything in steps and in batches. So I stamped all 4 panels with those snowflakes with the clear embossing ink, melted them with my heat tool, and then I'm going to repeat the process, but this time I'm going to use other snowflakes. I ended up using every, I think, snowflake image in the stamp set. So I positioned the 3 snowflakes again. And then once I got my system going, it's like, okay, all 4 panels, anti-static powder. And then I'm going to stick them back into my Misty one at a time in the same spot, ink up the stamps with clear embossing ink. And I can see where those white embossed snowflakes are. So I've positioned the other ones around them. And then this second step, I'm using silver embossing powder. So I've got white and then the silver. And again, I'm going to keep repeating the process. I'll stamp and coat all 4 panels with the silver embossing powder. Once all 4 of these panels have the silver embossing powder, I'm going to melt that with my heat tool. So I've got those. And then I'm going to do this one final time. I'm going to line up, I had lined up more snowflake images onto the panel and then just stuck that in my Misty once I was kind of happy with where everything was. And then same thing, anti-static powder, coat all 4 of these panels with the anti-static powder, and then stamp these snowflakes with clear embossing ink. And then this layer, I'm doing gold embossing powder. So I'm going to have white snowflakes, silver snowflakes, and gold snowflakes on this, on these backgrounds. So after I went through and again did the exact same thing, stamped, coated with embossing powder, set aside. I've said this before, it depends on what I'm doing. Like bigger panels like this, there's less of a chance of me like knocking things over within reason. When I'm doing like smaller little itty bitty things, a lot of times I'll heat emboss them like immediately, just because, you know. But yeah, it doesn't hurt for them to sit for a few minutes. You know, you just don't want them to sit too long that the actual embossing ink dries. It takes quite a long time to dry, but you don't want it to dry and then your emboss powder just blows everywhere. So all my panels are now heat embossed, and because they're heat embossed, they will resist the ink. So I pulled out more colors. I could have done them all with this AEGEAN ink, but because I have all the positively saturated inks, and like I said, I was in a like jewel tone mood. So I also pulled out rose ink, royal ink, and iris ink, and my blending brushes. And I am going to ink blend just 1 color per panel, and I'm keeping the like kind of the concentration of the ink around the perimeter. And then as I get towards the center, I'm kind of lightening out my pressure, plus I'm not adding any more ink. So it kind of gives it that almost halo effect. and, you know, gives it a little bit more interest. And then as soon as I'm done ink blending, I use my microfiber cloth and I just wipe over the entire panel, and that removes any ink sitting on top of that heat embossing, especially the white heat embossing. And now you can see those white snowflakes that I heat embossed at the beginning. So I just keep repeating the process with each ink color. And I've super sped this up in editing. Again, it didn't take very long, but I look like I'm like so smooth, but this is like 800% faster than I actually did it. So I'm using the microfiber cloth as well to hold the cardstock, just to keep me from getting like fingerprints, because these inks, again, they're water reactive. Fingerprints do show up, and I am bad for that. So I either use, you know, my cloth, or you guys have seen me use like Post-it tape, that sort of thing, just to keep me from getting like smears and fingerprints all over. I don't overly worry about it, especially with something like this, because I am going to add splatter anyway. So any little oops basically get covered up, but that's just the, you know, thought process. So I've got all my backgrounds blended. Now I'm going to lightly spray these with my distress sprayer. I only press the nozzle about halfway, so I get more of like the big blobs of splatter, but I also get a really fine like mist splatter too, which again, I've mentioned this in videos with the positively saturated inks, especially, they react very interestingly to water, especially like fine mist. And I'll show it at the end. You can see it really well in the pictures though, just the texture it created. And I love it. I love it. It just gives a little extra something. So after I'd done that, so there'll be, you know, the texture and the splatter effect from just water. Of course, I'm going to add more splatter. So I pulled out my Amsterdam liquid white fluid acrylic ink, put that onto just a palette, took out my trusty little fan brush, and splattered all these backgrounds with that fluid white ink. And then I'm going to add more splatter. Because go big or go home. So I've got the white splatter, and then I'm going to use my Gonzai Tombi Starry Colors to add a little bit of gold splatter as well. Because, you know, why not? You know, it pulls in a little bit more of the gold. So I splattered these with that white, and then pulled in the gold. So I've just got snowflakes in the different shades, and then the ink colors and the blending and texture, and just, I don't know, these were really fun to make. Yeah, they're still wintry. I went right up to the very day with my Christmas series, and kind of felt a little bit of a loss. I can't promise that I'll do, I'm kind of done with Christmas. I said this. I'm just kind of over it, you know, but still in a wintry mood. I don't have a choice. I have to be in a wintry mood. We got like 2 feet of snow in the last week. Oi, it is winter. So anyway, did all my splattering. And then I grabbed another piece of cardstock and a sentiment from the set. I love the sentiments in this stamp set. I love the mix of fonts, and I love having, you know, like punny sentiments and just like multiple occasion or general sentiments. So I took the thank you snow much sentiment, and I'm going to stamp this onto this white cardstock with those same ink colors. And I purposely positioned the sentiment because I'm going to die cut it with one of Simon's Nested Hearts wafer dies. So I'm going to ink up the stamp with those colors, stamped it once, rotated the cardstock, and then I repositioned the stamp the second time so that I can get it on the other side, and just made sure there was enough space to be able to die cut them, and then stamped them again. And then I'll rotate, stamp it the last time with the last color, and then die cut all those sentiments with that little heart wafer die. And it just kind of fit perfectly. It was just, I love when things like that just happen. You know, I was just kind of going, creating these cards, had a rough idea what I was going to do. And then when I realized the sentiment fit in that heart wafer die, I was like, yes, this is meant to be. So I die cut all those sentiments with the hearts. And then I kept the insides of these cards simple. They're top folding A2 white note cards. And I took this little like border stamp from that set. This is kind of more meant to, you could stamp it just once and then stamp one of the like more chunky sentiments above or below it. Or you can stamp it twice, like kind of mirror image, and then have the sentiment in the middle. Like really, the sky's the limit. But I just took it and stamped it kind of right below the fold of the card on the insides with those same colors of ink, just to kind of tie it all together. And then I adhered those heart die cut sentiments right over the big white snowflake on the front of these panels, and just mixed it up a bit with the orientation on a couple of them, just again, because I could. And then I also pulled out the mini Hearts Party wafer dies, one of my faves. And I had die cut the matte silver cardstock with that, as well as the glitter paper that came in the kit. So I've got a bunch of little heart embellishments that I can add to these cards to kind of tie it all together. And the largest hearts on here, I'm going to adhere with those same little foam squares. And then the other ones, I'm just going to adhere with craft tacky glue. So I've got kind of a mix of like heights going on here. Plus I didn't want to like cut the teensiest bits of foam tape. I was like, nah. So adhered, like I said, the biggest ones with the little bits of foam tape, and then the smaller ones I just picked up with my embellishment wand, and then adhered into place with craft tacky glue, and repeated the process with all 4 card fronts. So I wasn't going to do envelopes, and I'll get to the envelopes in a second. Oh, the mini Hearts Party. I keep all of the die cuts from this one. I just keep them in the packaging, because I've got, you know, red die cuts, gold glitter die cuts. So these ones I die cut, I've got like tons of these hearts. Stick them right back in the packaging. Next time I go to use this wafer die, I've already got like a whole bunch of little embellishments ready to go. So set those aside. I'm going to adhere all of my card fronts to the card bases. I decided not to cut the card fronts down like I normally do. I decided just to adhere them as is, covering up the whole card base. So adhered those into place with craft tacky glue, and then just stuck them under my MISTI just to hold everything flat while the glue dries. And then envelopes. I was just going to include, like, you know, pair them up with metallic white envelopes, that sort of a thing. But then, of course, I started thinking, and I was like, it would look really cute if I stamped the envelopes in the same colors of ink with the snowflakes. So that's what I did. So I just took 4 white envelopes from my stash. I lined them up in my MISTI, and then took a bunch of the snowflake images from the stamp set and just kind of arranged them around the like lower left corner of the envelope, and then inked up the stamps with each ink color, stamp the envelopes. So the cards are going to have their insides match with the color, and then the envelopes match. It's just that little extra something. Love it. So went through the process, stamped all the envelopes with these inks. Once that was done, these cards were complete. So like I said earlier, I will have a link below the video to my blog post. I will have a supply list. I'll link to all the supplies I used. I'll link to the kit, the contents separately, the subscription info, all of that. That will be in directly below the video in the description box. So you can check that out below if you're interested. And yeah, I'll have the pictures here at the end of the video. They'll also be on my blog, which is, again, linked directly below the video. So you can see that texture. It's, I don't know, it's just interesting. And it's kind of unique to these inks. Like, a lot of inks are water reactive, distress inks. Lots of water reactive inks out there. They're all fabulous. I love them all. I haven't yet come across an ink that I don't like. But yeah, the Pawsitively saturated inks just have an interesting way of reacting with water that I really love. So I hope you guys enjoyed. As always, thank you all so much for taking the time to watch my videos. It is very much appreciated. And I very much appreciate those that take the time to thumbs up, leave a comment, inform the robot. It informs the robot overlords that you guys like what you see, pushes my things out, and, you know, appeases the algorithms and all that technical mumbo jumbo. I appreciate all of you so very much, and I will see you all very soon in the next video. Bye.